Good evening. How are all of you? Yeah? Good? I'm nervous. I'm nervous because our theme is Into the Wonder, and I've come to talk about something that's not my field. I'm going to talk about the cosmos and the universe. I'm not an astrophysicist. I'm not a cosmologist. I am not an astronomer. I am a lawyer. So this is a little bit nerve-wracking. How did I come to delve into this field? Well, actually, in the spring, on a Sunday morning in the year 1998, I entered into a cafe on the Avenue Louise in Brussels, determined to search for God. I brought with me Stephen Hawking's best-selling book, A Brief History of Time. And in the ensuing 5.5 hours, over many cups of coffee and croissant, I felt I caught a glimpse of God. And in the closing paragraphs of his text, he actually made reference to God. This is the concluding work of his book, largely his last two paragraphs. And he writes, "Why does the universe go to all the bother of existing? Is the unified theory so compelling that it brings about its own existence, or does it need a creator? And if so, does he have any other effect on the universe? And who created him? However, if we do discover a complete theory, it should in time be understandable in broad principle by everyone, not just a few scientists. Then we shall all, philosophers, scientists, and just ordinary people, be able to take part in the discussion of the question of why it is that we and the universe exist. If we find the answer to that, it should be the ultimate triumph of human reason, for then we would know the mind of God." Well, imagine my surprise not so many years later, when he seemingly contradicted himself in a new work on September 2nd of 2010. Now, this is an excerpt from The Guardian, and they write, Professor Stephen Hawking's new book, The Grand Design, an extract of which appears in the Times today, sets out to contest Sir Isaac Newton's belief that the universe must have been designed by God, as it could not have been created out of chaos. Now, Stephen Hawking writes in his new work, The Grand Design, the following. He indicates that because there is a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. Spontaneous creation is the reason there is something rather than nothing, why the universe exists, and why we exist. Furthermore, he goes on to say, it is not necessary to invoke God to light the blue touch paper and set the universe going. Now, what does that mean? I was challenged and provoked. And so I was determined to learn what I had missed. Had we learned so much in the last 100 years that all of a sudden we determined that God wasn't necessary to the equation? So like any good academic, I went to Amazon.com and I ordered everything on the universe that I could find. National Geographic specials, the Discovery Channel, the History Channel, and I ultimately ended up with over 150 hours of video. And a year ago, in April of last year during Semana Santa, I sat down to watch them all. Now, we have learned an awful lot. It's incredible. And that's a little bit about what I've come to talk to you about this evening. But after viewing all of this, it kind of struck me that there was something missing from Stephen Hawking's equation. For me, it was as if we, humanity, had awoken suddenly to the realization that we lived inside a nuclear clock, and after 100 years of studying it with our most advanced technology, we determined that it was self-sustaining and it really didn't need anyone to wind it up. But for me, that begs the question, what about the clockmaker? Where does she fit into this equation? This challenged me and caused me to want to delve more deeply into the subject matter. And as a result, through these videos and the following material, I came up with a realization that we had learned a tremendous amount in the last century. I mean, think about it, people. At the beginning of the last century, the 20th century, we began the century without manned flight. We had no airplanes. And we ended the century with manned space flight and men driving moon cars on the moon. What an incredible century. So the question arises, what about the century to come? What does this century, the 21st century, hold in store for us? So to help us understand that, I have kind of a brief lawyer's overview of the universe, if you will bear with me. One of the early advances in our knowledge of the universe occurred in the summer of 1964, when a young Caltech doctoral student was doing an internship for NASA. And he was given what he felt at the time was a largely busy work task of calculating the periodicity of our 8 planets in the solar system. So, this young man was given the busy task of calculating our solar system's planets' periodicity. In other words, their orbits. And what he determined, rather surprisingly, certainly for a project he felt was busy work, was that in the next decade, there would be an alignment of the planets of our solar system that would not be replicated again for another 175 years. Now, this was of importance because one of the challenges to exploring our solar system was designing a rocket with a propulsion system that was strong enough to get it all the way out there. And determining that there would be this alignment, this once in 175-year alignment, meant that we could use the gravitational fields of each of the planets to push the space probe further out and further out and further out. The result of this was the Voyager series of space probes. And you see an example, an artist's rendering of this space probe. There are Voyagers 1 and 2 above me. Now, this Voyager series enabled us to see our universe, our immediate universe, our solar system. It gave us our first understanding of the world around us and opened our eyes to the universe in greater depth. Now, this photograph is difficult to see, but it's difficult to see for a reason. This is the last image taken by Voyager 1 as we turned her back to face us, 13 million kilometers away from Earth, and asked her to take one last photograph of home. And this dot in this corner, which is only 1 pixel in her visual field, is planet Earth. That is incredible. And if you really stop to think of it, people, we live in the golden age of space exploration. And I encourage you to look to the stars to see how much we've learned and how much we have yet to learn. It's an incredible process. So in the next couple of minutes, we're going to have a lawyer's view, if you will, not an astronomer or a cosmologist or a physicist view, a lawyer's view of the cosmos. Here's the International Space Station, which is pretty good. Here we are. The question is, where are we located? Well, okay, we're in our solar system, but where is our solar system located? Can you see we are in the Orion belt of the Milky Way galaxy, and though it's not terribly clear here, there's a black indicator saying we are here. And the Milky Way galaxy is our home, but where is the Milky Way galaxy located? Earth, solar system, solar interstellar neighborhood, Milky Way galaxy. Milky Way galaxy is located in the local galactic group, and it's hard to see here, but it's in the center, which is part of the Virgo cluster, and it's hard to see, but it's in the center again, which is part of the local superclusters, when again, hard to see, which is in the middle of the observable universe. All right, there have been several advances in technology that have enabled us to understand our universe to a degree that is just mind-boggling. You guys know of the Hubble Space Telescope, right? Yes? You remember seeing some of the photographs? All right, this is a photograph of space, people. This is incredible. This is a photograph entitled The Three Pillars of Creation. How about this? This is also a real photograph of space. This is the Sombrero Galaxy. And this, I love, this is the Horsehead Nebula. And this is a stellar galaxy. This is a stellar nursery. New stars are being formed in this nebula, as they are in most nebula. Now, who was the Hubble Space Telescope named after? It was named after an astronomer by the name of Edwin Hubble. Why was it named after him? It was named after him because in the 1920s, in the Mount Wilson Observatory, using the most powerful telescope of the age, the Hooker 101-inch telescope, he was looking at the universe and saw for the first time that what we had thought were clouds in space, clouds of dust, were actually galaxies. Then in 1929, he made the observation that those galaxies further away from us were actually receding away from us at an ever greater velocity. That was the origin for the theory of the Big Bang. All right. Now, I also learned in having to do my research here that he's also a lawyer. Incredible. Who would have thought it? All right. There are some cosmological constants that I want to talk to you about before I end here, for you to look into the future and see what the next century will hold for us. The first are stellar novas, or stellar novae. What are stellar novas? This one is called the Eye of God, interestingly enough. And stellar novas are exploding, dying stars. They explode with a luminosity and an energy, actually, that equals and surpasses all of the energy that our sun will produce in its entire lifetime. Now, there are several categories of supernova, but scientists have focused on one grouping in particular. They call them the 1A supernovas. The 1A supernovas explode with a consistent luminosity. It's kind of like having a light bulb that you know the wattage of, a 100-watt light bulb, and using this consistent luminosity, they refer to it as a standard candle. They can use this class of 1A supernova as a measuring stick for distance and time in the universe. If a light bulb is 100 watts, it's 100 watts when it's 5 feet in front of you or 5 million kilometers away from you. And you know its luminosity. So at 5 million kilometers, it's going to be very dim. But you can, knowing that it's a 100-watt bulb, you can measure that luminosity, hence know the distance, calculate that relative to the speed of light, which is 300,000 kilometers a second, and you know its age. All right. The second thing about supernovae that are of great interest to us is they are the source of the heaviest elements in the universe: plutonium, uranium, carbon, and iron. People, they are the source of our carbon life forms, and they are the source of the iron in our iron-rich blood. Without supernova, we would not exist. They are our mothers. All right. Next category, black holes. Now, this is not a photograph, this is an artist rendering. Black holes are also the remnants of dying stars. A dying star can either produce a supernova or a black hole, depending in part on the circumstances, its size, and its stellar neighbors, because there can be an interaction with them. When a dying star reaches a certain density after burning out, gravitational forces due to its mass take over and it collapses. Now, these dark holes, we can't see in space, but we can see their gravitational impact on things that they move near and around. All right, this is an image of the Abell 1689 massive galaxy cluster. In 1998, it was determined that the universe was not only expanding, but expanding at an ever-increasing rate. We couldn't figure out where that expansion was coming from. As we calculated the observable mass of the universe, there wasn't enough mass to account for the ever-increasing rate of expansion. So it was determined that there must be forces in the universe that were invisible to us. These forces were determined to be two, one dark matter and the other dark energy. Now they call them dark, not because we can't see them, but because we don't know what they are. Now, this massive galaxy cluster, Abell 1689, is 2.2 billion light years from Earth. And observing it, we could see the gravitational impact of something that was warping and bending light. This bending of light is referred to as gravitational lensing, and it was hypothesized that what was doing this was dark matter. Can you see the bent light, the curves, as you look around the photograph? That is dark matter. So they used the Hubble telescope to survey this sector of the universe, and they determined that it was dark matter that was causing the lensing. And using computers, they modeled what this field would look like. Here is a computer modeling of dark matter in the Abell 1689 massive galaxy cluster. This is the invisible force that actually is serving as the matrix, the framework for space. There is another force, as I've mentioned, that is dark energy. This is another computer model of a sector of approximately 300 light years of the universe, where dark matter and dark energy were modeled. The web-like gray areas are dark matter, and the light gray areas are dark energy. Now, the thing that's fascinating about this computer modeling is that it matches exactly the reality of the placement of galaxies and galaxy clusters in the universe. You see the box in red and the box in green. Where the dark matter is most dense, the galaxies cluster together. Where the dark matter is less dense, there is more space between the clusters, and the dark energy pushes the clusters farther apart. So we have those four elements: supernovae, black holes, dark matter, and dark energy. And I want you to look to the sky. Keep your eyes open. This century is going to hold marvelous things for us. Now, how are we to see them? This is our new telescope. This is the James Webb Space Telescope that will be launched in the year 2018. The James Webb Telescope is 300 times larger than the Hubble. The Hubble is approximately the size of a school bus. It's been in space for 23 years. The James Webb is approximately the size of a tennis court, and its principal mirrors, made of beryllium with 18 movable sections, have a field of 21 feet. Hubble's mirror is only 8 feet in diameter. So with this new space telescope, we will see things we have never seen before. And so I challenge you, look to the skies. Imagine the unimaginable. Maybe, just maybe, we will catch a glimpse of our elusive clockmaker. And always remember that we are the stuff of stars. We have stardust in our bodies. Thank you.